Would you like to see it turned back to the county? Can we afford it, I guess is the question.
Okay. Say, 1 minute.
I'm going to quickly point something out. I appreciate Jennifer's comments because we realized what she was saying was that she would not. And you know, the reason I'm running for trustee is because it doesn't matter what my opinion is on really most issues. I'm here to represent the people of this village. And if the people of this village wanted to consider merging, well, then I am certainly going to consider that as well, and hopefully use, like I said, the resources we have to look into the issue. My opinion, my agenda does not matter as a trustee. I'm here to represent the people. I'm here to be part of the process of government. And I think the answer is clear on the other side.
The Environmental Council is sponsoring its second annual Kings of Point Volunteer Day, and this is in response to just seeing the general state of this particular park and all of our parks. They needed help, and we'll be bringing in the community to cut invasive vines, to clean up garbage, that kind of thing as well. We've already gone through and looked at the infrastructure in the park. We looked at fences, the buildings, everything, and to ensure that the park is properly maintained. I have not seen the contracts with the county, whether our revenues and our expenditures there are balanced, but in terms of maintenance we can do better, and clearly financially should make sense as well. The control is good with GM coming, because it connects the Manors with the new commercial district and the new waterfront.
Still have time.
Okay, you've got 30 seconds.
3 seconds?
30, sorry.
Oh,
Look over there.
that was 1 minute.
Oh, it is, but you put 2 on. So
Put 2 on.
very bad.
Sorry.
30 seconds. I was just going to say, if we're so concerned about the name Sleepy Hollow, we can create the town of Terrytown and continue the village of Sleepy Hollow inside. I think that'd be a pretty simple school. That's just firing from the hip here.
Since we started out with 2 people, we'll get the clock and you put 2 on. We're going to continue with 2 just for this time. Yeah.
The problem we have with Kingsland is that it's owned by the county but maintained by the village. I believe it was given back to the county, unfortunately, for a song. Another bad decision that we've inherited. It's extremely expensive. It utilizes a lot of our resources during the summer, and yet it is a county park, and it is open to everyone who resides in Westchester County, and we're responsible for flipping the our DPW maintain the park, they clean the park. We've had problems with the park being overcrowded, so our own residents can't even enjoy the park. It would be wonderful if we can work something out with the county to get the park back to us. If I had the opportunity to get that park back, and we can negotiate something that was affordable for the village, I would certainly support that and look into that, because I think Kingsland is a beautiful, beautiful park. It's a beautiful resource. We take care of it, and I think we should be able to enjoy it to its fullest.
Anybody else? I can't read the clock.
1 minute.
Somebody else? Please enjoy.
Not quite on the issue of Kingsland Point Park, but I'd just like to point out, it seems like our opponents are very quick to latch onto ideas without studying them sufficiently. I think they're eager to get elected, to be frank. So I think something as major as merging with Terrytown shouldn't be answered flippantly. I know it wasn't a flip suggestion on your part, but that would be a major step. So I think it's important to elect very reasonable people who are going to think through these issues carefully before deciding where we should come down.
That's what we said.
Okay. All right. Next question. I thought I saw some. Okay, Bob.
Bob Lewis on Hunter Avenue. Let me pick up on what we just said. The water tank. I think most of us know that the water tank up there is very old. It's about to fall apart. So what has been done, what's going to be done, and who's going to pay for it? Let me ask the Democrat.
What has been done is we've actually had public hearings on this, and we've been discussing this in the last couple of weeks during our board meetings. We have looked at our different options. Originally, there was an option on the table to put something in Phelps that is no longer on the table. So the options that we had are either to stay on the footprint of the tank that is up at the state park. We originally had a plan to put an alternate tank new tank. We were looking at building a new tank just adjacent to the old one, and it would have been well hidden from view, but the state park refuses to allow us to go in there and do any sort of construction because of the habitats there in the state park. So because we have an easement forever in perpetuity of where the tank exists now, our options are we can go dig down so that we don't have an eyesore. We can build up and have one of those big green tanks. But we are also having conversations with people up at the Rockefeller, the Rockefeller family and the National Endowment people and whatever to see if there is an alternate site that would work for everybody and be acceptable. We need to do the water tank reserve, otherwise we cannot go forward with development on Castle Oil, we cannot go forward with development GM until we have the water reserve. It will be paid by the village. What we will do is, because it's an infrastructure improvement, we can bond it for 40 years with bond interest rates being what they are now, which is very, very low. It's a good time to be doing something like that. But it will be at a cost to the village. But as I said, it'll be spread out over 40 years, and we really have no choice but to go ahead with this.
15 seconds.
And when Trustee Wompa says we have no choice, I just want to point out it's because we're required by law to have a 24-hour supply. Currently, the tank only holds, I believe it's an 8-hour supply. So we have to do it, regardless of whether we develop or not, it has to be done.
The state park site is problematic for a couple of reasons. The state strongly opposes even using the existing footprint because of the construction impacts. And digging down in the existing site is also the most expensive option. It also means that while you're doing the construction, you don't have any tank. And I don't know that I've seen it explored exactly the way we would actually get our water reserve supply during construction on the existing footprint. I think the county house, the Rockefeller private land site is strongly preferable. It's above ground, it's much closer to the village. You could do it while you're using the existing tank. You'd never have no supply or have to contract water from somewhere else. And I hope that that's actually the way that the village goes. It would be cheaper and better in a number of ways.
Okay, I'll just add, what I'm hearing a lot from the other side is, very quick to rule out possibilities, actually, to say that we have to do something. I think what we represent is really looking at all of our choices, making sure that we have considered all the possibilities. My understanding is that there are some possibilities for a water tank site that are not necessarily being considered in the 3 or 4 options that we've been given. We want to make sure that those are fully vetted and that all ideas are considered. And just to respond to the comment made earlier, nobody here is eager to get elected. We're eager to work with the people here. We're eager to involve you in government, and no one's making any quick decisions. What we're quick to do is open up the floor to ideas. And what we're saying is we're willing to work with people and understand what our options are. I think if there's any quick decisions that are being made, it's quick to say we can't do something, or it's quick to say that that's not an option. And I don't think that's positive leadership. I don't think that's the direction this village needs to go to. We need to be working proactively and positively and creatively to come up with solutions. Thank you.
I'm trying to read the clock like this, I can't do it, so speak up something. All right, you have 30 seconds for follow-up. You'll pass. Okay, yes, sir, in the blue shirt. Name and address.
Sam Gonzalez, 16 Kingston Road, Sleepy Hollow. I have a 2-part question, but it has to do with the economic vitality of our villages, our village. Well, the first one is, can you give me a specific thing that you would do as it relates to economic development? And one of the things I sometimes feel is like we're a charity. And I don't mean this in a negative way, because we have Kendall, but we make no money off of Kendall. We have the hospital, but we make no money off the house. We just made open house place. So the question is, what shall you do to enhance economic development?
Okay, you will have 30 seconds for a follow-up, but I forgot who went first last time. You think you went first? Okay, I'm ready.
I've heard a lot about this and how it's become an issue for some people. We do have a lot of nonprofits in our community. I also believe the Salvation Army is moving into French Chevrolet. So that's another piece of property that's going to a nonprofit. I think we need to have a committee formed that's going to be looking at creative solutions for Fees, they do use our services, and I think we need to look at that. In terms of just general development downtown, I think we need to really clean up our downtown to make it an attractive place for people, and especially businesses. I think that's going to be done through new committees, beautification foundations, putting criminals on the streets, picking up gum and trash. I also think that we set up a new tourism consortium that involves all the river towns. I think Sleepy Hollow would be the main beneficiary of a tourism consortium because all the great sites are right here in Sleepy Hollow. And I think if we start generating more traffic from the city and from people who are out of town, I think the businesses will follow. So those are the things that I want to see. And I'm willing to work on them even if I would feel like it.
Have a little bit less on the front than anybody else thinks.
I'm going to echo Sean. I agree though. He just said the other piece of the puzzle is working on an actual master plan, if not for the entire village, for cost reasons, at least the business district itself. And what a master plan does is it sets in, through surveying the community and finding out what the people want to see downtown, what services are needed. We can start to restrict the type of stores and things that can open, so we don't have 15 laundromats and just a bunch of delis. So we have diverse retail, and then on top of that, you can have the facade standards and beautification requirements involved. And I think we can work with. I think that's what I have to deal with. So master plan at that point.
Any comments? We have 2 minutes to.
Hi, I have also noticed that most of our tax revenue seems to come from property taxes. And the business district, however, is improving slowly. When I moved here 6 years ago, the businesses on Beekman Avenue were not very diverse, and there's been a real turnaround in that, slowly but surely. There's more busy, popular restaurants open, more shops that attract people from outside the inner village. And that's a good thing, and in order to continue that on, first we've got the GM development, which is really going to be a game changer. We're going to get a lot of new tax revenue for that. Estimates are an additional $1 million to the village, an additional $2 million to the schools. So that's terrific. And the new residents there will support the inner village businesses as well. I also think we need to work on municipal parking in the inner village. Some of you may have noticed it's very difficult to find parking there on the evenings or weekends. So it's difficult to attract businesses because they look at the property, they look at the surrounding area, there's no place for their customers to park easily. And it obviously it turns them off to it. So that's just growing pains, and I think it's time that we address that by adding some additional municipal parking. The facade improvement is going on through the DRC, through Karin Wompa's group, and you may have noticed some improvements in the look of the inner village as a result. So I think we're making good progress on that. We'll continue to do so.
30 seconds.
Yeah, change takes time, and you have to really lay a good, strong foundation for change to happen in this village. And I think that's what this administration is doing. Slowly, with the downtown revitalization, it took a couple of years because of the business landlord relationships, and it's really the landlords who are responsible for the application for the facade grants. But you can see that a number of businesses have fixed their facades and are going up. We fixed Morse Park to make it more attractive. We've updated the village codes. We're really enforcing the village codes now. Just improving quality of life for businesses and youth development.
Okay, you have 36 for follow-up.
Yeah. Our schools are at risk, being by the state. How will you hold Howard Smith and the board accountable for failure of the school system?
I want to quickly address a few points about downtown before I get to schools. Any growth in the downtown has been despite a lack of government involvement. There are no rules or regulations or any actions by the government actually taken to promote new businesses. The Downtown Revitalization Committee is not the government. It is a separate entity, and it does not have legal jurisdiction or anything like that. So while I appreciate its facades effort, it does not set rules, regulations, or standards that are enforceable. Okay, so we need, as a government, to take steps that are strong, decisive steps towards forcing our businesses to be better. And over the years, we've had a few restaurants pop up, but like I said, it's been over long efforts. It was years in the making. The Masiacs opened up Bridgeview. It's been, again, they've been a long time resident there, so they have overcome great obstacles. So I wouldn't call it, and I agree with one thing Karin Wompa said. I think we do need a strong foundation. We don't have it. That's the problem. We need a master plan. We need government law that can actually, that's the foundation over which you build revitalization. And parking, although a great idea, I think parking is going to do nothing if there's no downtown to go and see and park and go visit. So we need to work first in the downtown, getting those in place, and then we should address the parking, maybe simultaneously. Schools, schools are, it's a tough issue. What I will say about schools is that, last year when I ran, I was very passionate about getting involved in more. I have 2 little kids. We want to send them to public schools. And I was told I was told very bluntly that that's outside of the government. It's a separate thing. And I believe that despite sort of the walls that exist, we should still work very creatively and proactively.
Okay, time. However much time you need them, you need to get the other side. Okay?
Right. So I'll answer your question first before I go back and address other points, just to make sure that your question is answered. The school board is independent of the village board. They act on their own. We have no direct influence over them. We have no carrot, no stick. What we can do is advocate and work with the schools, and my understanding is that the mayor and the current board of trustees has been very open, very communicative with the schools, has had dialogue with the schools. Again, they can't force them to do anything, but the best you could do is influence. But that's where it really does become critically important that the community becomes involved and becomes active and acts as the oversight to the school itself. I know my husband has been extremely involved with many of you in the audience in attending the school board meetings, the budget meetings, asking the questions in the open public forum. As village trustees, we can also come and participate in that, but we have no direct oversight. With regards to lack of any sort of government intervention in downtown, I totally disagree. We've been operating under the LWRP. We are not the only municipality who's put that on hold over the past few years.
Okay, another question? Chuck?
Two questions. I think something like 90% of the village's budget is non-discretionary. You've got wonderful plans. How do you hope and expect to change that ratio? Second question, we've talked both Manors with Village Hall for many years about the need for a master plan. I think the present administration has set some money aside to start that process. It will be very costly.
Okay.
How do you plan to proceed with it?
Okay, I think you guys went first last time, huh? You want to finish it up? You guys have a preference?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, well, Sean, you'll see this one.
There was money earmarked for master plan, I believe 2 or 3 years ago now. It was supposed to go through the planning board. They were supposed to start developing that. I don't think I've seen any other money earmarked for that, or I've seen any progress on that. So, the fact is we had a master plan in the 70s. Most master plans are 20, 25 years long. It's kind of a jurisdiction. We need to get on that right away. I don't think it's, we can't wait for GM to happen and work on a master plan. That doesn't make any sense. Finances. Fixed costs are a problem. And what I think we need to do is really open the budget up line by line. And right now, there's a finance committee that works on the budget. It's mostly trustees. I think we need an independent citizen committee to make recommendations on the budget. People who work in finance can really give us a heads up on what we should be looking at in terms of cost cutting. I think a good step would also be for trustees to not take their $400 a month that they get. I personally, if elected, would be putting that to our Communication Foundation. I think I could do a lot of work in our downtown with that $400 a month. We need to really look at what we're spending on lawyers and consultants. I think it was what, 500,000, right? In consulting fees. Yes, I think we need to get creative with union negotiations too. Right now we're stalled on a police contract. I understand it's very frustrating for everyone involved. And I think we have to kind of cut our losses in some ways. I think we need to give our valuable employees what they want, but we also have to ask in return for lower pay scales for new workers. So over time, we reduce the costs of our labor force. So those are the ideas, I think.
Quickly, also master plan funding. Let's take every dollar that we get on a warrant or something against the landlord in violation, put that money into a jar, basically, for master plan. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars of outstanding, uncollected warrants. Let's take that money, and let's use that towards the master plan.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll vote. 2 minutes.
2 minutes? We do have a lot of fixed costs. I understand that our current administration is working on, if they haven't completed already, new negotiations with our the unions that represent our 2 biggest sources of employees, and for the first time, they're going to pay a significant amount of their health care costs. So that will save the village a tremendous amount of money. I do also think the DRC could do some fundraising efforts, and I've been in charge of fundraising for this campaign. I did the fundraising for the movies in the park. I have some great ideas in that area. As far as the master plan goes, it is expensive, and I think that's the only holdup. I think that's been the holdup for a lot of municipalities. I've heard estimates of $500,000. That would be about 4% of our budget, and that's the holdup. It's old. It's very old. 1968 is the date of it, and it definitely needs updating, and that should be done. The LWRP is the plan that governs the GM site and the surrounding areas, and that does some important things that will help the GM site. It establishes the zoning for that site. It also protects important view sheds at points throughout the village. So that gives us some much more recent planning in that area. And the village is working on other things that does involve master plan type activities, such as working on the water needs of both our current residents and our future residents at the 2 developments that are being that will be built over the next few years. So we need to make sure we have the right people to oversee all of this, and the 3 of us are experienced professionals. I do set a budget rivaling Sleepy Hollow's. I have had to make some very difficult cuts over the years to keep our costs in line. That's not pleasant work, it's not fun work, but we need to keep our taxes reasonable and affordable for everyone.
Good.
Thank you.